The world often celebrates youthful beauty, but have you ever noticed the undeniable aura of confidence and charm that some women over 70 carry? There's something magnetic about them, something that turns heads, draws people in, and leaves a lasting impression. It's not about wrinkles or smooth skin. It's something deeper, something irresistible. Today, we're uncovering 12 stunning traits that make women over 70 not just admired, but truly unforgettable. If you recognize yourself in these, then trust me, you're already radiating a beauty that's impossible to ignore. 1. A presence that fills the room. Mary had never been the type to demand attention. She didn't wear flashy jewelry or speak over people. And yet, whenever she walked into a room, people took notice, not because of what she wore, but because of how she carried herself. She moved with an effortless grace, standing tall with her shoulders back. There was no hesitation in her step, no self-doubt in her posture. She didn't need to prove her worth to anyone. She knew it already. This is what makes a woman over 70 magnetic. It's not about how loud she speaks or how much space she takes up. It's about the way she moves through the world with quiet confidence. People are naturally drawn to women who know who they are. A woman who walks with purpose, self-respect, and an unshakable sense of self has a presence that can be felt before she even says a word. And that is beauty in its purest form. 2. A face that tells a story. One afternoon, Mary's granddaughter reached up and touched her cheek. "Grandma," she asked, "do you wish your wrinkles would go away?" Mary laughed, taking the little girl's hand in hers. "Not for a second," she said. "These wrinkles tell my story." She traced the fine lines at the corners of her eyes, the proof of every time she had laughed until she cried. She touched the creases on her forehead, memories of challenges faced, lessons learned, and resilience built. She ran her fingers over her hands, hands that had comforted, nurtured, and created a life filled with love. Society may try to convince women that aging is something to fight, that smooth skin is the goal. But real beauty? It's in the lines, in the history, in the proof of a life fully lived. A woman over 70 doesn't need to erase her past to be stunning. Her face is not just a reflection of time. It's a portrait of strength, love, and wisdom. And that is more beautiful than anything that comes from a bottle. 3. A voice that speaks with wisdom. When Mary was younger, she thought wisdom came from books. That to be heard, you had to prove yourself with facts and figures. But as she got older, she realized true wisdom isn't about how much you know. It's about what you've lived through. Over the years, she learned what was worth fighting for and what was better left alone. She learned that silence could be more powerful than words, and that not every battle needed to be won. Now when she speaks, people listen. Not because she is the loudest in the room, but because her words carry the weight of experience. She doesn't waste her energy on meaningless chatter or gossip. When she offers advice, it comes from decades of real life, not just theory. A woman who speaks with conviction, kindness, and clarity holds a kind of power that cannot be ignored. She doesn't need to raise her voice to command attention. Her presence does it for her. That kind of wisdom? Unforgettable. 4. An unshakable inner peace. There was a time when Mary would let every little thing get to her. A careless comment, an unreturned phone call, a change in plans. She took it all personally. But now, she knows better. She has lived long enough to know that most things aren't worth the stress. That holding on to resentment is like carrying a heavy stone in your pocket. It only weighs you down. Now, when someone speaks out of turn, she doesn't react. She knows that people's words are a reflection of them, not of her. When things don't go as planned, she adapts. Life has thrown enough surprises her way. She's learned that flexibility is key. This inner peace isn't something you can buy. It's not something you can fake. It's something that comes from years of learning what truly matters. A woman over 70 who carries herself with calm confidence, who isn't rattled by nonsense, who knows how to let go of what doesn't serve her. That woman is magnetic. Because in a world full of stress and chaos, peace is the most attractive thing of all. 5. A heart that loves without limits. Mary had learned something that only comes with age. Love is not something to be given with conditions. In her younger years, she had worried too much about who loved her back, who appreciated her efforts, who showed up when she needed them. But with time, she realized, love is something you give freely, not something you keep score on. Now she loves because it feels good to love. She forgives, not because people always deserve it, but because she deserves peace. She cherishes her relationships, not out of obligation, but out of genuine care. The most stunning women over 70 have hearts full of love, not bitterness. They give without expecting anything in return. They spread kindness, not because they have to, but because it's simply who they are. And a woman like that? Unforgettable. 6. A laugh that's contagious. There is something truly magnetic about a woman who knows how to laugh. Not a polite chuckle, not a small giggle, but a full-bodied, head thrown back, tears in the eyes kind of laugh. Mary had learned that life is too short to take everything seriously. She laughs at herself, at silly moments, at how ridiculous life can sometimes be. She doesn't hold back joy, because she knows that laughter is the closest thing to magic we have. A woman over 70 who can still find humor, who can still let go and laugh until her stomach hurts, is a woman who is truly alive. And that kind of joy, irresistible. 7. A spirit that refuses to dull Mary had met too many women who had let time shrink their world. They had stopped celebrating birthdays, stopped trying new things, and slowly allowed their world to become smaller and quieter. They no longer danced at weddings. They no longer sang in the car. They no longer laughed until their sides hurt. But Mary? She refused to live that way. She still danced in her kitchen when her favorite song came on. She still belted out old tunes in the car, even if she missed a note or two. She still dreamed, still planned, still set goals, because as long as she was alive, there were still things to do. Mary knew that aging was inevitable, but growing dull was a choice. She had met women who had given up on joy, on adventure, on the simple pleasures of life because they thought, I'm too old for that. But what does too old even mean? Is there an age limit on joy? Is there a cutoff for curiosity, for excitement, for trying new things? Is there a moment when you're supposed to stop feeling alive? Of course not. Some of the most magnetic, captivating women are the ones who refuse to let age dull their spirit. The ones who still wake up with enthusiasm, with playfulness, with a sense of adventure. Because a woman who still finds excitement in life, who still laughs, who still believes there's more to experience. She's the kind of woman people can't help but be drawn to, because age does not define how vibrant you are. Your attitude does. 8. A sense of style that's unapologetic. There was a time when Mary dressed for everyone else. She had spent years worrying about whether her outfits were appropriate, whether her clothes were age appropriate, whether she was following the rules that no one even knew who had made. But now she dresses for herself. She wears bold colors when she feels like standing out. She wears classic elegance when she wants to feel timeless. She wears comfortable, effortless pieces when she wants to be at peace in her own skin. She no longer asks, is this too much? Instead, she asks, do I love this? Because she realized that her style, her choices, her expression, none of it is for anyone else but her. She had seen women her age shrink into the background, dressing to disappear, blending in because they were afraid of drawing attention. But why? Why shouldn't she stand out? Why shouldn't she wear what makes her feel beautiful? Why shouldn't she own every inch of who she is? A woman who wears her confidence as boldly as she wears her clothes is irresistible. Because true style isn't about trends or rules. It's about wearing whatever makes you feel alive. And a woman who owns her look, who walks with the certainty that she is exactly who she's meant to be, that's the kind of beauty no designer label can match. 9. A mind that's still curious. Mary never wanted to be someone who said, "I'm too old to learn new things." She had seen it happen. People her age giving up on learning, deciding that the world had moved too fast for them, that they had nothing more to gain from it. But she refused to be one of them. She had spent her whole life learning. Why would she stop now? She still read new books to keep her mind sharp. She still asked questions to understand the world around her. She still learned how to use new technology, not because she had to, but because she wanted to keep up, to stay connected, to continue engaging with life. She wasn't afraid to make mistakes, to ask for help, to be the beginner again. She had learned how to text, how to video call, how to use apps that made life easier. She had learned how to cook new dishes, how to start new hobbies, how to embrace the fact that growth never stops unless you let it. She had met too many people her age who had stopped learning, stopped adapting, and had let their world become smaller and more isolated because they thought, "It's too late for me." But here's the truth. It is never too late to learn something new. It is never too late to ask, to try, to explore. It is never too late to remind yourself that your mind is still alive, and it still has room to grow. A woman who is still engaged, still discovering, still hungry for knowledge is a woman who is ageless. Because the moment you stop learning, stop wondering, stop seeking new knowledge, that's the moment you start aging. And a woman who keeps her mind open, curious, and full of life, she is a woman the world can't help but admire. The strength to speak her mind. Mary had spent too many years biting her tongue, choosing silence over confrontation. As a young woman, she had been taught to be agreeable, to avoid rocking the boat, to smile and nod even when she disagreed. She had sat in rooms where men dominated conversations, where her opinions were dismissed as emotional, where she had swallowed her words for the sake of keeping the peace. But as she grew older, something shifted. She realized that her voice mattered, that her thoughts, her beliefs, her experiences were valuable, powerful, and worth expressing. Now, when she speaks, she doesn't hesitate. If someone talks over her, she keeps talking. If she disagrees, she says so, without apology. If something doesn't sit right with her, she calls it out. And yet, she doesn't do it with anger or hostility. She does it with grace, wisdom, and self-assurance. She doesn't waste her breath trying to prove herself to people who refuse to listen. Instead, she speaks with clarity, confidence, and conviction. And the right people? They listen. There's something undeniably captivating about a woman who knows her worth and isn't afraid to express it. A woman who doesn't need permission to take up space. Because a woman over 70, who has found her voice, who has stopped shrinking, who stands in her truth without fear, she is a force to be reckoned with. And that kind of presence? Absolutely irresistible. 11th, a resilience. That inspires Mary had seen more storms than most. She had loved and lost. She had faced illness, financial hardships, heartbreak, and grief. She had been tested by time, by fate, by the sheer unpredictability of life. And yet, here she was, not broken, not bitter, still standing. She had watched friends give up on joy after loss, had seen women her age retreat into loneliness, fear, and regret. But Mary refused. She knew that life is not about what happens to you. It's about how you rise after you fall. When she lost her husband, she learned how to stand on her own. When life pulled people away, she learned how to find new connections. When change felt overwhelming, she reminded herself that she had adapted before, and she could do it again. She wasn't immune to pain or hardship, but she had learned that no matter what, she could always rebuild herself. And that kind of resilience? That is beauty beyond measure. A woman who has faced the darkest moments of her life and still chooses to find the light. That is a woman the world cannot ignore. Because true strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up, again and again, no matter what. And that kind of resilience? That is breathtaking. 12. A life that's fully her own. Mary had spent so many years living for others. She had been a daughter, a wife, a mother, a caregiver. She had spent decades putting everyone else first: her children, her spouse, her family, her responsibilities. She had given so much of herself away that, at times, she had forgotten who she even was. But now she was living for herself. She had stopped apologizing for, taking time to do what makes her happy, saying no to things that didn't bring her peace, making choices based on what she wanted, not what others expected. She had stopped asking, "What should I do?" and started asking, "What do I want?" She traveled when she wanted. She spent time with people who uplifted her. She indulged in hobbies that made her feel alive, and for the first time in years, she felt free. A woman who lives on her own terms, who refuses to be defined by anyone else's expectations, who wakes up every day knowing that her life is hers to enjoy. That is a woman who is truly, completely, and undeniably stunning. Because beauty isn't about pleasing others, it's about being fully, unapologetically yourself. And when a woman reaches that point, she is unstoppable. She is irresistible. True beauty isn't found in youth. It's found in confidence, kindness, laughter, and resilience. If you carry even one of these traits, you are already breathtaking. Which of these resonated with you most? Let's talk in the comments. And never forget, you are stunning exactly as you are.